Check out today's piece of fan art. It's an OC made to be one of the Tamamo 9. What really sticks out to me here is the use of color. It's vibrant and has a unified palette. The background, while blurred out to highlight Tamamo, provides a compelling atmosphere. Thank you so much, Jack BR. In worlds of magecraft and mystery, legends often intertwine. In the case of heroic spirits, this can be literal, as high servants are beings composed of multiple legends, acting together as an individual. One such servant is known as Sitonai, a high servant composed of 3 different mythological figures. The name Sitonai itself comes from Ainu mythology. Within this tale is the draconic serpent OtakuDaiKun, who dwells in a cavern in Mount Akaiwa. The serpent demands human sacrifices from Khotan, the native village beneath the mountain. Out of fear of this serpent, Khotan's people send a young maiden to its dwelling each year on the 15th day of August. Gongin's reign of terror lasts for 9 years, until a brave woman, Sitonai, stands up for herself. She is the youngest of 6 daughters born to the village chief, and when it comes time for the village to select its next sacrificial maiden, she volunteers. Of course, she has no intention of going down without a fight. Armed with a makiri knife and her loyal hunting dog, Sitonai ventures to Gongin's cave. She sets a trap for the serpent, first hunting the meat of a deer and bear to use as bait. When Gongin slithers from its cave, it sees the meat and decides to eat it all at once. Under the light of the moon, it digests the deer, keeping the bear meat stuffed in its mouth. Occupied by its meal, Sitonai uses this chance to send her dog to bite deep into the serpent's throat. Gongin is weakened, allowing Sitonai to step in and finish it off with a critical strike from her makiri. With the serpent deceased, she steps into its cave to gather the remnants of past sacrifices. Gongin turned out to be a mere snake, one whom the villagers could have taken in battle, and yet their cowardice took the previous maidens' lives. With the maiden's bones in tow, Sitonai returns to her village as a hero. Despite her triumph, the villagers continue to fear Gongin, worried that they may be haunted. As such, they build the Akaiwa mountain shrine in the Serpent's Cave to celebrate and worship it. Regardless, Sitonai and her faithful canine are solidified in legend. Then there is Freyja, the Norse goddess of fertility, love, death, and magecraft. She is born from the god Njordr of the Vanir, who has many high-ranking children. Much like Odin's Valhalla, which gathers the souls of fallen warriors, Freyja has her own heavenly dwelling, Folkvanger, which holds half of these slain warriors. Similar to the Valkyries, Freyja rides into battle to gather these souls. She conducts these charges from her chariot, driven by a pair of cats. Her husband, Odur, is often away on long travels, causing her to weep tears of red gold. Being alone so often, she is a target for the affections of many strong Jotnar who seek her hand in marriage. For this, she is often consulted on matters of love, and she is known to help her fellow gods by lending out her feathered cloak and, on occasion, her falcon-like appearance. Freyja is known by many names that she acquires while traveling the land in search of her husband. Lastly, there is the witch Lohi, a primary antagonist in the Finnish epic tale Kalevala. She rules over the land of Pohjola, tormenting the country of Kalevala by sealing the sun and moon into a cave, bringing on a chilling frost. Her beautiful daughters are sought by brave warriors, and so she tests these potential suitors by assigning them challenging, if not impossible, tasks. One of these suitors is asked to forge the Sampo, a magical artifact that brings riches and good fortune to whomever possesses it. Such a treasure gathers the interest of many greedy men who fight to claim it. Battles ensue over who will claim the Sampo as their own, plunging Kalevala into conflict until, ultimately, the Sampo is destroyed. In theory, these 3 legends can manifest as their own independent servants. As divine spirits, however, they require a mortal vessel to restrict their divinity. It is in unity with their vessel that these separate figures overlap. Each for their own reasons, the components of Sitonai choose to unite as a single servant because of a shared interest in their vessel, a tragic girl by the name of Ilyasvil von Einzbern. In a universe where the Holy Grail War is held consecutively in the city of Fuyuki, Japan, the Einzbern mage family specializes in the creation of homunculi, artificial humans created through magecraft. In fact, for generations, the family has consisted entirely of homunculi who share the family's dream of attaining the third magic of Heaven's Feel. The Holy Grail War is a process whereby a chalice known as the Lesser Grail collects the mana from fallen servants in order to invoke the Greater Grail and reach Akasha, the root of all existence. To actually ascend to Akasha, the Lesser Grail needs to be completely full, but because previous wars ended prematurely, with mages using the Lesser Grail for more mundane wishes, the Einzberns decide to embed the Lesser Grail into their own homunculi as a safeguard. In other words, the family creates a homunculus for the war that will serve as a living vessel for the Grail. This homunculus is a woman named Irisfeel. In many ways, she is a living sacrifice, whose body will break down as the Grail fills with mana. Apart from other homunculi, Irisfeel is special in that she has a functioning womb. In the event that the Einzberns fail to win the Fourth War, they begin preparing in advance for the Fifth. They have Irisfeel mate with a human, in this case their hired master Kiritsugu Emiya, birthing a new homunculus as a potential next vessel. In the event that Kiritsugu claims victory for the Einzberns, this child will serve as his reason for living, as the war itself will ultimately kill his beloved Irisfeel. As such, young Illya is allowed to live like a normal child, adored by her kind and caring parents. Because she is born as a potential vessel, however, the Einzbern head, Yubstahite, had her body modified for future use, inhibiting her growth. Physically, she will remain a child even into her adolescence. While this pains her father Kiritsugu, it does not stop him from being a doting caretaker. For a cold-blooded killer like him, Illya is truly a saving grace, making it all the more tragic when he and Irisfeel have to part with her to compete in the Grail War. Illya understands that her mother will become the Grail, but she still has hope that her father will return for her. Horrifically, however, the Grail War Kiritsugu enters is one of malicious corruption. Kiritsugu discovers that, even if he wins the Grail, the only wishes it can grant are wicked and destructive. To prevent the Grail from granting an evil wish, he is forced to betray the Einzberns and reject the Grail he fought to obtain. His decision is in line with his heroic ideology, and even though he acts for the greater good, his decision has consequences. Yubstahite, angered by Kiritsugu's betrayal, seals off the Einzbern mansion with a powerful bounded field, effectively exiling Kiritsugu from the premises. Unable to reunite with his daughter, Kiritsugu dies from the Grail's curse after caring for his adopted son, Shiro. Illya is never told of her father's many attempts to rescue her. Rather, she is groomed into despising Kiritsugu, interpreting his adoption of Shiro to be a sign of her abandonment. These feelings of neglect and hatred simmer as Illya is haunted by the image of her dead mother. She is tormented by Angra Mainyu, the Grail's corruption, forcing her to endure a terrible childhood. Her trauma is both mental and physical, as the Einzberns continue to cut into her body, preparing her to be both a master and the Grail's vessel for the Fifth War. She endures this pain because she is hailed as the Einzberns' last hope. While she is tended to by two maids, Sela and Laisrit, she laments how the family produces various failed homunculi who are fated to rot in a discarded pool. For their sake, Illya continues training to be a proper master for the war. 2 whole months prior to the battle, Illya summons her heroic spirit with a slab of rock as her catalyst. The one to answer her call is Heracles, the Greek demigod known for completing 12 daunting labors. As a berserker, he is uncooperative, draining much of Illya's mana simply to keep him restrained. The pain of preserving her servant for 2 months in advance urges her to berate and condone him, but that resentment fades with her next trial. She and Heracles are cast into a harsh winter forest, forced to survive without aid. Illya, lacking faith in her own servant, wanders through the snow on her own, only to be viciously attacked by wolves. As she is torn apart, she cries out for help, and Heracles answers her call valiantly. He tears through the wolves, protecting Illya in a way her father never could. This ordeal solidifies their bond as master and servant, allowing her to see Heracles as the strongest heroic spirit of them all. For the war itself, Illya moves to the Einzbern castle in the outskirts of Fuyuki, accompanied by Sela and Laisrit. With a powerful body, 70% composed of magic circuits, Illya is confident that she will win. Even without her servant, she fights using magecraft similar to her mother's. Primarily, she is able to create familiars from her own silver hair, a technique called Engelrid, Angel's Poem. With it, she can manifest wire birds named Storch Ritter, King of Stork, which can fly about the battlefield, firing blasts of magical energy. In a twisted manner, she is able to transfer human consciousness, namely to abduct victims' minds and store them into inanimate objects such as dolls. Those without magical resistance are easy prey for her eyes, which can paralyze her targets. Despite her confidence, Illya's goal is far more personal than winning the Grail War. She wishes to use the war as a chance to meet and potentially kill her adoptive brother Shiro. When they encounter each other in the war, she at first takes all of her pent-up hatred out on him, allowing Berserker to brutally wound him. When she glimpses Shiro's selfless kindness, however, she begins to have a change of heart. Her resentment turns into a yearning affection, overjoyed to have family she can still bond with. Shiro, in turn, begins to protect her despite being enemy masters. As the war presses on, Heracles is pushed to his limit, being defeated while trying to keep Illya safe. While still capable of forming a contract with another servant, Illya gives up on the war and instead devotes herself to helping Shiro bring the war to a peaceful conclusion. While living at Shiro's residence, she learns that her father Kiritsugu made several attempts to meet with her, but was too weak to overcome the Einzbern's bounded field. Thus, when Shiro ventures into the Ten no Sakazuki, where the Greater Grail resides, Illya resolves herself to save him. She turns to her maid, Laisrit, whose body houses the Dress of Heaven, the Einzbern mystic code capable of controlling the Greater Grail. Donning this dress, she steps in just as Shiro is about to die from his injuries, sacrificing herself so that he can live. This pacifies the Grail, and at the end of her life, she is able to connect with her mother, who had been sacrificed 10 years prior. Illya is a tragic figure because even if she were to survive the Fifth Grail War, her limited lifespan would not let her continue functioning for much longer. While she is not a human mage, nor does she leave a mark on history worth recording into the Throne of Heroes, she does become the ideal vessel for certain heroic spirits. Sitonai, for instance, is also a brave girl who fights despite being made into a sacrifice. Freyja takes interest in Illya as a young girl, and Loki sympathizes with Illya and her mansion of ice and snow, which resonate with Loki's own domain. As such, when it comes time for Sitonai, Freyja, and Loki to step up as servants, they agree to do so together within Illya's body. This miraculous phenomena is only possible due to Illya's profound connection to the Holy Grail. In an entirely different world, human history is endangered by the emergence of Lostbelts, timelines which would otherwise be pruned by the universe. One of these Lostbelts takes place in Scandinavia, wherein the Norse apocalypse of Ragnarok is interfered with. Instead, Surtur, the king of Muspelheim, threatens the Nine Realms with his devastating fire. He is only halted when the god Odin seals him away in a false sun, before entrusting the survival of their world to Skadi, the bride of the gods. This Norse Lostbelt threatens what the universe deems as proper human history, and in response, the counterforce proceeds to summon different servants from the Lostbelt in order to destroy it. Thanks to Freyja's connection as a Norse deity, the high servant known as Sitonai manifests in the Lostbelt using Illya as its vessel. The three spirits, as well as Illya, all converse within a single mind. This grants her courage, compassion, and cruelty, though among them it is Illya and Sitonai who have the most influence. In battle, Sitonai fights with a variety of weapons, namely a sword, bow, and her own fists. Thanks to Illya, she can also wield powerful magecraft. With Sitonai hailing from Ainu myth, she can recite the Kamui Yukara to call upon the powers of various spiritual Kamui. She can also empower herself with the crimson gold tears that Freyja wept for her absent husband. The hunting dog that accompanied Sitonai in life manifests as a polar bear that she lovingly calls Shiro. This is because Illya maintains the memories of her own life, including those of her servant Heracles, whom she can summon as one of her familiars. Her noble phantasm, Optateshke, Okinmunpe, Howl my friend, my power, is her dog's true name. When invoked, she is protected by her canine companion in bear form, with a special advantage over dragon enemies. From Lohi, she possesses a second noble phantasm, Poyala Fimbul, Forces of Heaven, which manipulates the power of the frozen cold. It combines Lohi's legend of sealing away the sun, blanketing the world in frigid silence, along with Illya's mental landscape, the chilling forest where Heracles first protected her. Despite all of these impressive talents, they are unable to stand a chance against the Lostbelt's king, Skadi, the goddess imbued with Odin's last wish to protect the land from Surtur. Skadi, who was able to cover the entire landscape in a coat of snow to restrain Surtur's flames, proves stronger than Sitonai's combined strength. That said, Skadi is actually sentimental. She senses Freyja, her stepdaughter, within Sitonai, prompting her to spare and imprison Sitonai in her castle dungeon. When the Chaldea security organization sends its master, Ritsuka Fujimaru, into the Lostbelt, they too are imprisoned in Skadi's dungeon. Sitonai uses this opportunity to assist Ritsuka, explaining to them what she understands about the Lostbelt, while also allowing them to escape the dungeon with a concealment spell. With Surtur serving as the greatest threat, both Skadi and Chaldea wind up working together to defeat him. Sitonai and Skadi team up during the fight against Surtur, using their magecraft to bless Ritsuka's party. In the end, however, Ritsuka and Skadi must fight each other to determine the Lostbelt's fate, and in this fight, Sitonai sides with Chaldea. When Skadi falls and the Lostbelt begins to vanish, so too does Sitonai. While this incarnation of Sitonai has faded, her saint graph is catalogued by Chaldea, allowing Ritsuka to summon her as an official Chaldean servant. This is a joyous occasion, as it allows Freyja to reunite with Skadi, and more importantly, it allows Illya to see versions of her beloved parents and of course Shiro, as they too have found their way into Chaldea's roster. Finally, while in service to the protection of human history, Illya can truly live with her family, experiencing a profound happiness that life previously denied her. Thanks for watching!
If you enjoy this channel, help us grow by liking, commenting, sharing the video, subscribing to OtakuDaiKun, and
most of all, smashing that notification bell so you don't miss out on all of our anime discussion, lore, or Let's Play content.
You can support us directly through Patreon, Subscribestar, or our YouTube membership, all of which come with benefits like exclusive vids and early access.
As always,
celebrate your fandom!